Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel, Taylor Talks Tales. Today I have an awesome and entertaining novella to share with you. It's Australian, it's a creature feature, it was everything I wanted it to be, and that is The Roo by Alan Baxter. See you out back. So I'm going to read the back for you and then the foreword, just a couple passages from the foreword because I think it's super funny how this little story came to be because just take a look at that cover. I think it's amazing. And a killer kangaroo story. It was a lot of fun. Something is wrong in the small outback town of Morgan Creek. A farmer goes missing after Blue in the pub. A teenage couple fail to show up for work. When Patrick and Sheila McDonough investigate, they discover the missing persons list is growing. Before they realize what's happening, the residents of the remote town find themselves in a fight for their lives against a foe they would never have suspected. And the dry red earth will run with blood. And I'm just going to read the first part of the foreword because I think it's very funny how this came to be. Foreword. A killer kangaroo story? Are you serious, Baxter? This all started with a ridiculous situation on Twitter. There was a news article going around with the headline, Australian town terrorized by muscular kangaroo attacking people and eating gardens. You'll find it by searching for that sentence online. A more Australian story is hard to find. When author Charles R. Rutledge responded that it sounded like something Zebra Books would have published back in the day, Keelan Patrick Burke, superb author and excellent cover designer, I agree, mocked up a brilliant old-school horror novel cover in response. Several of us started joking about how a cover that cool really should be on an actual book. One thing led to another, and as I was the Aussie in the conversation, people started saying I should write it. And honestly, the cover had inspired me. I thought it would be a really fun creature feature, so I asked Keelan if I could have the cover or to write a killer story too. He said yes, but he wanted to polish it up, rather than the 5-minute mock-up he'd done originally as a joke. So that's what he did. And enough people bugged me that I agreed to write it. And it goes on a little bit more, but essentially, this book is the work of a lot of different components. So Alan Baxter wrote this, and what's hilarious is that a lot of people were encouraging him on Twitter. He ended up taking their names and putting them as characters in this story, which I think is really funny, especially since this story is just chock full of deaths. Like, the death count is huge for such a short book. And I really enjoyed this a lot. It was what I wanted from a story like this, and I think that the length of it being about 120 pages with a 7-page glossary in the back for all the Australian slang terms, which this book is full of Australian slang terms, so I did have to reference the glossary quite a bit because I was just like, what on earth is this? And it was awesome because I love Australia. I've always wanted to go there, and I'm a fan of Aussie horror movies, but I haven't really read a whole lot of Australian horror books. So this was a very fun foray into that. And I think with this story, the short length works perfectly. If it was a short story, I feel like it wouldn't have worked. And if it was a full-fledged, like full-length novel, I feel like the fun kind of entertainment value of this and just kind of like, oh, let's just go with the story and just, have a blast and just see where this leads to. I think the novelty factor would have been overdone had it been like a 200, 300, 400 page book. So the 120 page length I think works perfectly. And this book doesn't take itself seriously, but it takes itself seriously enough where like the writing is good and you connect with several of the characters, and it does have a strong message in it, and it introduces you to some of the hardships of living out in the outback and how there are some relationship issues and poverty and just drought and how that impacts Australian life. And I feel like it really is a slice of Australian outback life. Like, it's a very small town with about 400 people, and what's funny too is you start getting, there are a lot of characters, and you start to get connected to a character, and then they die. Because slight minor spoiler alert, I guess, but a lot of the characters do die. And it's pretty gruesome too. Like, there are descriptions in here. There's somebody's head like just squashed like a fruit, and it does not shy away from that. So when you go into this book, just know that there's a lot of gore. It's fun gore though. I don't think there's there's no like sexual assault or like anything creepy and like gross. It's fun, and at times very lighthearted, and other times where it does bring up some stuff like domestic abuse. I think there's a big strong message in that, and there's even an afterword about that because it's a big problem in Australia, especially in smaller towns in the outback, which are being really, hit hard by climate change and drought and, again, poverty and alcoholism and all that. But this book, oh, it was so much fun. I already want to reread it. I haven't really read a whole lot of horror novels like this, where it's just like feels almost like a B movie, like a very fun, entertaining B movie, or something like, I think this reminded me a little bit of Tremors, where I love that just sense of humor, where you're just watching this and it's like, this is just cracking me up, and some of the characters do some over-the-top silly things, and yeah, I kind of like, in a weird way, this almost reminded me a little bit of like an Australian Tremors, where there aren't graboids coming out from the ground, but there's a giant killer kangaroo who's like super buff and 7 feet tall and has glowing orange eyes. So I definitely recommend it if you are looking for something just for pure entertainment value, but is also done well. Like, it's not just like, Alan decided to just be like, okay, I'm just gonna make super, super crazy things, and I don't care about the writing, and I don't care about messages, and I don't care about the characters and that kind of thing. He really did put some effort into this, and I think that's really what makes it work a lot. So I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I recommend it for anyone who wants a fun creature feature film, or like almost a horror comedy, or if you're interested in Australia, anything like that. So I highly recommend going to check it out. I got the actual physical copy. I do know that you can get it on Audible or Kindle, and I think right now that's probably your best bet, because I think it actually is a little bit expensive if you buy the physical copy. But, I enjoy having physical copies, and it's going to be part of my collection. And also, again, this cover is just so much fun. I love it. And yeah, so I'm going to wrap that up for the review. But if you're in the mood for anything just lighthearted during this time of quarantine and COVID-19, this is a great, excellent choice to just relax and have fun and kind of get involved in all the shenanigans. And, I think the glossary in the back is very helpful, because I did have to consult it quite a bit. But now I think I know a lot of Australian slang terms. Like blue, I know what a blue is now, and a cactus, and raw prawn, and oot, or ute, and strine, and just, it was so much fun. It was just very entertaining, and I didn't really have any expectations going to this. I had a feeling I would probably like it, but I realized I liked it more than I thought, and it actually was a very good, entertaining story, and not just a gag. So anyway, go check it out, and please like, comment, rate, subscribe. If you've read this, let me know what you think, or if you have any other, like, B movie in a book format books that you'd like to recommend to me. I'm all for that kind of thing. So anyway, thank you so much. You guys have a great evening, and I will talk to you guys later. Happy reading. Bye.